All right, this one was a little hard to predict because he was a backup quarterback and he had to come in at some time. But Arch Mania is now officially underway because we don't know how long Arch Manning is going to be the guy at Texas, but it seems like it might be for a little while.
Yeah, we don't know the extent of Quinn Ewers' injury just yet. Abdominal strain could be semi-serious or not serious at all, so we'll wait to see that. But I think that the best part about that situation, Andy, is that it doesn't really matter, at least in the short term, because Arch Manning came into the game. He threw a touchdown pass on his first play into the game in the second quarter and finished 9 of 12 for, I think, 223 yards and 5 total touchdowns, including a 67-yard rushing touchdown. So absolutely looked the part. Super excited, of course, to watch him play, not just this year, but into the future. And I think that he, from what I saw, has a chance to live up to a hype that has been unattainable.
Yeah, I mean, this guy as a recruit, because of his last name, because of who his uncles are, I think had a lot put on him that, like you said, was unattainable. You think, okay, this guy can't possibly live up to what we're saying, because I'll turn it on the critics of Arch Manning during his recruitment. They said, well, if his last name was Smith, how many stars would he have next to his name? Well, I think if you had a guy with this skill set, he'd still have 5 stars.
Yeah. Also, too, I think that his last name is probably an asset. I know we talk a lot about family pedigree and smartness and all this stuff, but it's like growing up in the game of football with some of the greatest minds in the history of football.
Right.
Like, I think bloodlines already with non-Mannings have an impact on players. Like,
sure.
Players who come from those types of situations tend to be better.
Dads are coaches.
Yes.
Yeah, all
that
stuff
matters. So on top of that, it's not like he's 5'11" and 170 pounds. Like, he's a 6'4", 225-pound athlete who reached 20.4 miles an hour during his touchdown run, which is, I saw a tweet, 3 miles per hour faster than Marvin Harrison reached at any point last year. Like, we're talking about a really, really good specimen and somebody who, in my opinion, has a chance really to be a really great football player.
And for Texas, this is an interesting situation. It's not controversial. They should be getting Quinn Ewers back at some point. Mm-hmm. And you've seen this. Quinn Ewers has missed time each of his other 2 seasons as a Texas starter too. Last year, Malik Murphy had to start some games for the Longhorns, and they got through them. I think in this case, they're going to be better suited. Now, the next 2 games, if you're worried about Quinn Ewers, you can probably rest him. You can feel confident in Arch against Louisiana Monroe and against Mississippi State. And then you have Quinn Ewers ready to go for Oklahoma if you need him. If this proves to be more serious, if it's something that's going to keep him out for an extended period of time, by that point, Arch would have 2 starts under his belt, and you'd feel pretty confident with him having to play against Oklahoma.
Also, too, let's go back in time, Andy, to the perception of what Texas was when he committed. And now looking at the roster that Texas is now, like, it has been a pretty transformative 2 years. And I was watching the game on Saturday night, and yes, they were playing against UTSA. And yes, I think you and I could probably play the offensive line and get some yardage against them. But their offensive skill talent, even without running back Jaden Blue in that game, is uncoverable. I mean, between those receivers, even the running backs who are young and were
Gunnar Helm.
We saw
Gunnar Helm there at Michigan in person.
Exactly. So, Isaiah Bond and Ryan Wingo and Jonte Cook is another name that's going to be, out there for the entire world to know here in the next year or so. Like, you're not talking about a person who is coming into the football game after being in the program for 3 months and trying to bring Texas back. Like, Texas is already built in the same type of fashion that you would see with an Ohio State or Georgia, putting together a person who probably already came into the program with pretty intensely high football IQ, but then also has been kind of seasoning in the background. We talk about the most hype in the history of recruiting. I don't know if you could ever come up with a recruit, and I don't think we'll ever see another recruit again that matched the hype that Arch had. But he's also remained relatively anonymous while at Texas, while kind of trying to develop.
His ID that one time.
He did, yeah, and he almost wasn't in the video game, which was a big deal. But we really haven't seen that much of him. So for him to come out and not only, look good, but he was dominant in this football game, and from the very first play he was in. So I think that if you're looking for things to analyze when it comes to him, speed, running ability, escapability, check. Did you see that? One of those touchdown passes that he dropped into the bread basket there in the back corner of the end zone, was very, very in command. And again, I understand that they were playing UTSA, but I got news for you. He's got 2 more games against teams that can't keep up with Texas too, if it needs to come to that.
And Quinn Ewers, again, this is not controversial, but it's crazy because this is the plot of Fansville. This is the plot of the Fansville commercial.
Yeah.
When Quinn Ewers, the deputy, is with Sheriff Brian Bosworth, and Brian Bosworth keeps talking about backup, and Quinn Ewers like, don't need backup.
Yeah,
don't need any backup.
Don't need any backup.
Well,
I actually want to say
needed it the past 2 years, and they need it now.
And I wish I would have said this on the show, so I'm happy we're doing these videos. But I want to compliment Quinn Ewers too for handling what would be a pretty impossible situation for a lot of other people. Like, he made fun of it in the commercial, but has maintained a level of professionalism, I think, and confidence in his own game during a time period where it would have been very easy to yell for the kid. I mean, I can't imagine being the quarterback starting with Arch Manning breathing down my neck. So, I think that maybe it was a lot easier because Steve Sarkisian has steadfastly supported Quinn as the starter of this team. And I don't know if Quinn Ewers, this is crazy to say, but if Quinn Ewers is out for 2 or 3, like, I don't know if there's anything that could possibly happen that could make this into a debate. Like, probably not, but if he plays well enough, people might be like, I don't know if we can keep Arch out of the game anymore.
But I think Sark would probably put a pin in that pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think he'd shut that down. And the only thing I feel really bad for Quinn Ewers, because this probably could have been a Heisman season. Maybe it still could, like, if he's ready to come right back. But if he is out for a few games, it might harm that part of it. But I don't think it's going to harm any of Texas's team goals. And I know Quinn Ewers will tell you Texas's team goals are his goals. So I think it's going to be okay on that front. But Texas should feel pretty good, because this is what we talked about. And I wrote this in the offseason, and people got mad because they said, well, you're saying Quinn Ewers is going to get hurt. And I'm saying, yeah, he has. So let's talk about this. But the teams that have 2 good quarterbacks, and there's not many of them, they are better suited to win a national championship that is going to require you to play 16 or 17 games.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no question. And then one last point I wanted to make about Quinn, Andy, is with Archmania, with the hype of his recruitment, with Sark being able to get him, with people asking questions. You saw what his media day situation was the first time he showed up on campus, or at media day, with like 9,000 reporters like around him
in his hometown, by the way.
This is all happening during a time when Quinn Ewers helped transform Texas back into what people thought they should be. So I think that it's important to maintain focus and, give him his flowers too during what is probably a difficult week, and just say, hey, like, Texas is a different place now under your leadership. You made the playoff last year. I know a lot of that is Sark and the roster building, but he's also the number 1 overall player in his class, I believe, or at least ranked in that range.
He
so,
was.
We're talking about a really good player that is going to probably be in the NFL next year. So, Texas is in really good shape, and there's a lot of Arch Manning mania. There will continue to be Arch Manning mania, but Andy, I'm just continue to be blown away by how deep and talented the entire roster is.
Well, we'll see. Because guess who's coming to Austin next week?
I know who it is. I'll let you
Booty, rocket everywhere. That's our General Booty and the ULM Warhawks coming. So, we've talked about Arch Manning. We've talked about Quinn Ewers, but let's be real here. General Booty's the quarterback. We're going to be talking. Oh, wait. No, it's probably going to be Arch and Quinn.
Yeah, you're right. But hey, Texas, it could have been a bad night, but it actually turned out to be a pretty good one. Super excited to see how the season goes. And, I think right now, after what we saw from Georgia on Saturday night, that I would say that Texas is the best team in the SEC. So pretty good spot to be heading into mid-September and the first year of the big bad SEC.
Just watch out for General Booty. Thanks so much for watching.
And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel wherever you listen to your podcasts and leave a 5-star review.